Hello everyone, this is Dr. Noor Nigar, and today I'm going to discuss the second part of the lesson, The Ramapuram Tiger by Kenneth Anderson. Now we know in this part we are going to discuss how Kenneth Anderson he plans and how he kills the man-eater. We know that when he read in the newspaper about the man-eater tiger of Ramapuram, he decides to visit Ramapuram. He first renews his gun license at Kollegal, and then he stays in a small forest lodge at Ramapuram. He gains the confidence of the people by informing that he had come to kill the man-eater tiger. Now he stays in the forest lodge and he decides to walk to the Bailur village. And on the way, there would be a few more villages he had to pass by. He decides to talk with the inhabitants, these villagers, inhabitants of these villages. Most of the villagers were inside the house or they were sitting just at the entrance of their huts maybe, and the cattle were grazing very near to their homes. It was obvious that people were scared of the tiger. And while walking slowly, he speaks to few of the villagers, and almost all of them, they said that they had heard the roar of a tiger either last night or within the past 72 hours. It looked as if these people are so scared, that so nervous that they made almostly that they were making completely false and exaggerated claim. Or else, Kenneth Anderson thought there might be really large number of tigers operating in this area. So this is what he goes there. He reaches Bailur village, and there he meets the gang of people who had witnessed the killing of that coolie woman. They give an account of what they had seen, and after meeting these people, he quietly returns to the. It was about to become a night, evening, and dark, and he quickly walks and he reaches the forest bungalow just before dark. And what he does there, he pulls an old broken armchair to the veranda and he relaxes in it. And when he sits there, he could hear the sound of a peacock and a jungle fowl. This is a jungle fowl and this is the peacock. And also at the distance, he could hear the sambar stag. This is sambar stag, which is a male deer coming down the western range, and the sound was like music to his ears. He was enjoying the sound, and in the darkness when he looked at the valley, the trees which were there on this valley looked like dark carpet. Okay, and when it became dark, he could see he could see millions of fireflies. This is a firefly. He could see million of fireflies, and these fireflies in the dark, glowing in the dark, looked like tiny elfin fairies, or, supernatural creature. And sometimes these fireflies would glow. All of them would glow together, and that would create a big light. That would just be for a moment. And that night, he decides to sleep on the floor of the small central room of the lodge. So he slept early that night. However, he got up at around 2 a.m. He heard the moaning sound, the crying sound of a tiger. He got up, and then early next morning, he visits Bailur village once again. And when he reaches Vailur village, he appoints or he hires two local shikaris who would help him locate the tiger in the jungle. Because Kenneth Anderson was new to that place. He didn't know, did not know the routes, he didn't know much about the jungle. That was the reason why he hired two shikaris, the local Solagas, who would help him locate the tiger, who would help him move through the jungle. And also, he purchased three young bulls, which he wanted to use as bait to attract the tiger. Once the tiger attacks one of the bulls, any one of the bulls, and it stays there to eat it up, they can easily shoot the tiger. For that, he purchased three bulls. And then what he does is he ties the three bulls at three different places. So, what are the three places in which he ties the bull? The first bull he ties in the bed of the stream that passed through the valley west of the bungalow. Now, why he decides to tie the bull here, the first bait? Because you remember last night at around 2 a.m., he heard the moaning of the tiger, and the sound came from this area, this part. So he tied the first bait there. The second bait, the second bull, he ties in the small forest glade. Now, what is a glade? A glade is an open area. So there was a small open area in the jungle, and this place was in between the village, Bailur village, and the forest bungalow. So the second bull, he ties it here. And the third bull, he ties it in an open ground, which was near Odam Betta Halla stream, and this place was near 21st milestone. So if you remember, 21st milestone was the place where the third victim of the tiger, that is the coolie woman, middle-aged coolie woman, was attacked by the tiger. So near this 21st milestone, there was a stream, and the name of the stream was Bettahalla, Odam Bettahalla stream. And on both sides of this stream was bamboo forest, and the forest department, they had cleared a small part of this bamboo forest for plantation. And he ties the bull in that open space near the plantation. Now, why he ties the third bait there? Because they all could find the pug marks of the tiger, fresh one as well as old ones. So it was very obvious that the tiger visited this place very often. So these are the three places where the bull was tied. Now you remember these two places well. That is, this is the place where the tiger would be killed. That is midway between a small forest glade, which was midway between the village and the forest bungalow. Remember, this is the place where the tiger would be actually killed. And this bull will also be killed, but not by the tiger, rather by a tigress. So these two bulls would be killed in the story, and this is the place where the tiger is hunted. And remember, the tiger, man-eater tiger, will not kill this bull. We'll see who kills that bull at the end. But this bull would be killed by a tigress. Now, what happens after he ties the bull at the three different places? He gives instruction to his helpers, these three people, that what they have to do is next morning, three of them have to go to 21st milestone to check whether this bait was hunted by the tiger or not. And the author decides to visit these two places, the bed of the stream that passed through the valley west of the bungalow, because these two places were on his way. So he decides, way to Bailur, and he decides to visit these two baits to find out if they were attacked by the tiger. And he instructs those three helpers, Jakin and the other two shikaris, Solagas, to go and visit this place. And then he comes back home, and then he sleeps early. And this time he was not disturbed by any this one, and then any animal or anything. Then what happens next morning, when he visits these two places, the bulls were unharmed, and there was no pug mark also. So definitely the tiger had not visited these two places. And then he goes to Bailur village and he meets these his three helpers, Chekin and the other two shikaris. They also inform him that this bull is also unharmed, and that is what happens there. And then he comes back and he gives instruction to them that again next morning they have to go and locate this place. But something else happens that day. What happens the next day? This particular bull, he checks on these two bulls, they were unharmed. And when he comes and meets the other three uh, people, his helpers, the shikaris and the Jake and Jakin, they inform that this particular bull is killed and taken away, dragged away by the tiger. And then he goes and he inspects that place very carefully. He realizes that actually it was not a tiger that had killed this bull, but it was a tigress. So next day, first day, all the three baits were unharmed. The next day, the third bait was killed, and the killer was not a tiger but a tigress, and the dead bull was dragged away by the tigress. The writer and Kenneth Anderson decides to follow the drag mark and reach the tiger. Though from the pug mark he assumed that it was a tigress, but it was not a sure indication. So he himself wanted to go and see the tiger and find out whether it was a man eater, it was the man eater, same man eater or not, because he could easily identify the man eater, because the man eater was had deformities. He didn't have left eye, he didn't have left ear, and his he had bruise marks, wound marks on his face and neck. So he decides to follow the drag marks. And when he follows the drag marks, he realizes that the tigress had dragged, and he leaves instruction for his helpers. He says, I will follow the drag mark, and if the tiger has taken the bull to a far off place, I will follow, and there I'll go and make arrangement for myself to hunt the animal, the tiger. But if in that case I will not be able to return by 3 o'clock, you wait for me till 3, and if I don't return, you go back, you don't wait for me. But if I find the tigress had left the hunt, the bull, somewhere nearby, then you all have to make a machan. Machan is a place like this for me where I have to I'll stay and I'll kill the tiger. So this is the instruction he gives to his helpers, that if he doesn't return by 3, they have to leave the place. And if he comes back, if the hunt is nearby, then they have to prepare a machan like this. And then he starts following the drag mark where the tiger had dragged the bull. And first 200 yards, there was bamboo forest. So he could easily see the drag marks, the tigress pulling, dragging the bull. But then after 200 yards, the bamboo forest ends, and the lantana is a plant like this, flowering plant, bushy plant. There was lantana overgrowth which obstructed the tigress to pull the bull. So what the tigress did, the tigress uh, carried the bull on its shoulder and started dragging it. Dragging means carrying it on the shoulder, didn't drag now. Now it became very difficult for the writer, for the author to now locate which direction the tigress had gone, because there was no drag mark. And with a lot of difficulty, somehow he managed from a little broken twig, when it was taking the bull on its shoulder, the horn or the hoop of the bull had broken a few twigs, and following that somehow he managed to go. And then what happens, he comes across a rocky hillock is a small hill, and then he makes a guess, definitely the tigress is carrying the hunt for such a long distance, definitely it has a destination in mind. definitely the tigress must be carrying this bull, this hunt, for her cubs in the den, their home, the den, the cavern, the cave. So after the lantana overgrowth was done, it was over, then he comes across a hilly, a rocky hill, and he starts climbing there. And the tigress, as I told, was carrying it to her den for her cubs. Now, what happens? When he reaches the top of the hill, he could see two cubs playing. The cubs of this tigress, they were playing, and he stood there. But there was a slight noise made by the cocking of the rifle, which was very, very faint. Though it was such faint sound, still these cubs could hear it. They became alert. Though they were just cubs, they were small, yet they had the genes, generation of instinct behind them. The genes made them quickly identify that there was a stranger around, or there was danger, and this sound was something indication of danger. They immediately stopped playing. They disentangled themselves. They were just playing over each other. They disentangled themselves, and they looked at him in alarm, looked at Kenneth Anderson in alarm. One cub had a very innocent look of surprise on his face, but the other one had wrinkled its feature and produced a hiss of dismay, surprise. He created a hissing sound, and that sound was enough for the sleeping tigress to get up. And she came forward with a series of shattering roars. She dashed out of the cave. She bowed over the cubs to protect them and came straight at the author, that Kenneth Anderson. And the distance between Kenneth Anderson and the tiger was around 20 yards. 15 yards she came running, but when there was just 5 yards remaining, she stopped. Her courage failed. She did not pounce upon the author. She stopped. She crouched with her belly to the ground. Her eyes were blazing. Her mouth was wide open. She was roaring, and snarls shook the ground on which the writer was standing. But somehow she gave an indication that the author should go away from here without harming the cubs, or else she would kill him. And he took that indication. He started backing out. He moved back. The tigress did not come forward to attack him, and he also took pity on the tigress. So we see the human side of the author, the hunter, who was filled with humanity. He did not want to spoil this happy family. He didn't want to spoil the happiness of this happy family by killing the tigress or by attacking the cubs. So he returns to his helpers, and he informs them about the incident. They were also very surprised that it is very unusual for a tiger or a tigress to stop in their charge while charging or while attacking. It's very unusual, and he was really lucky to be saved. And then he decides to return to the bungalow. And on the way, he decides to visit this particular bull. I told you here, this bull was on the way, and he decides that he should pay a visit to this place, the bull, this bait. Though in the morning he had seen the bull, the bull was unharmed. He doesn't know why he had that instinct, that feeling of going and visiting the bull again at night. That was an instinct that he had, and he has no reason why he had this instinct, but he went to visit that particular bull. And it was very dark. By the time he had returned from the jungle after following the tigress, it was completely dark. When he moved to that place, it was very dark, except for the diffused glow from the stars that shone brightly in the clear blue black sky. So in simple words, you can say it was very, very dark. And in the darkness, the bushes around him looked like ghosts. ghost. They had ghostly shapes, and the wind was blowing very fitfully. Okay, and this bull was tied beneath a fig tree. There was a fig tree, and beneath that, the bull was tied. The bull was brown in color, so it was difficult for him to see the bull in the darkness because it was already dark in color. So when the author went close to the bull was startled, and all of a sudden it stood up. And when it stood up, all of a sudden, even the author was startled. He was also surprised by the sudden movement of the bull. And then he went around the bull to check upon the rope, to inspect the rope that was tied to the hind leg of the bull, to find out whether it was twisted or not. The moment he moved to the other side of the bull, all of a sudden the man eater charged. The man eater jumped, pounced, and the man eater landed on the bull. He was lucky. The author was lucky because the bull came in between him and the tiger. So the tiger jumped on the back of the bull. And by this time, the author had turned its back behind the fig tree when it saw the tiger coming around, and it was absolutely unexpected. He was not expecting. And all of a sudden, in the darkness, the tiger jumped. And he was lucky that the bull came in between. And what happened? The tiger jumped on the back of the bull. And the intention was to reach the author, because when the author, Kenneth Anderson, he saw the tiger had not pounced upon the neck or the head of the bull. Usually, tigers, when they attack their prey, they catch them by their neck or head so as to kill them. But the tiger did not catch the neck or the head of the bull. So it was a clear indication that the target was the author and not the bull. But what happened, as good luck would have it for the author, the bull collapsed. The sudden weight of the tiger, the bull collapsed. And that, the tiger next moment would have jumped on the author. After jumping on the back of the bull, in the fraction of a second, split of a second, it would have come on the author. But as good luck would have it, the bull collapsed beneath the weight of the tiger. And this gave some time to the author to attack the tiger, and he shot at the tiger. There was three shot which the author fired on the tiger. The first was and when the tiger fell down and it was trying to free itself from the fallen bull, the author got a chance to shot. Where did he shot? Between the eyes of the tiger. And this bullet smashed his skull. And the second shot was automatically, and without thinking, he fired his second shot. He aimed at the left, behind the left tiger's left shoulder. That was the aim. But later on, he discovered the bullet went through the tiger's chest. And with the second shot, the bull collapsed. When the bull collapsed, the tiger rolled off the bull towards the author, and he shot the third bullet, which went through the tiger's throat. So, total three bullets he shot. The first between the eyes, which destroyed its, completely smashed its skull. The second he aimed at tiger's left shoulder, but it went through tiger's chest. And this second bullet had actually also gone through the bull, and it killed the bull. The bull had saved the life of the author, but unfortunately, the bull was killed by the second shot, which also hit the tiger, went through the tiger's chest. And the third one was in his throat, and the tiger was completely dead. Now, how did the author feel after killing the tiger? His hands were trembling, his knees were wobbly, shaking. He was not able to stand straight properly. And all of a sudden, he felt very, very sick. He sat on the ground with his back to the fig tree. And when he raised his hand to touch his forehead, it was icy cold. He was badly shaken. He had never expected the tiger's attack on him at this point of time, in the middle of the at night, when he had come to inspect the bull. Now, what happens? The people of the village had already gathered on the road. This place was a little away, maybe 100 yards away from the main road. And the people had gathered on the main road and they were very excited. They were anticipating that the man eater must have been killed, but they were not sure. They were waiting for him to return. And when they heard the news that the man eater was killed, they were all very happy. And they expressed their gratitude by offering a chatty of fresh hot milk and a bunch of bananas to the author. It was very small thing they offered, but that expressed their sense of gratitude which they had for the author. And Jakin, when he saw the dead tiger, he came crying. He started stabbing repeatedly at the dead tiger. He remembered his dead wife. He was crying bitterly. And the author, very gently but firmly, he drew Jakin off the tiger, because tiger's skin was also very precious. And already he had shot 3 bullets and the skin was destroyed. On top of that, Jakin was going on stabbing and he was crying bitterly, thinking of his dead wife. Then the story, you might think, is almost over. But the next morning, when Jakin was coming to the bungalow, he passed through the spot where the author had left the road the previous night. So he had left the road, he moved 100 yards inside to see the bull. And where he also had to answer nature's call. Jakin had to answer nature's call. He went a little inside. And what did Jakin see? Jakin discovered for the first time that the tiger had actually been lying in wait for the author the previous night. So the tiger was waiting for for the author had come. For the author, he had sensed it. It was already there. It was waiting for for the author to come so that he could attack him. Evidently, the tiger had been in the vicinity or in the area, and he had either seen or heard the author approaching along the road, and it was alert, it was waiting to kill the author. But it was God's providence that saved him, that the bull came in between and his life was saved. He was able to kill the man eater. So, with this, we come to the end of this lesson. Thank you very much.